Hello Internet, I'm TychoCelchuuu, and this is a fan-submitted match that I am making a video of for Men of War Assault Squad. This was submitted by AbsentIntelligence, who I think is also 7th FelisTheIdiot, the player we see playing right now as the Russians on this map, but maybe, I don't know, maybe AbsentIntelligence got a hold of FelisTheIdiot's game some other way. But real quick right off the bat, 2 men die from an explosion. And we seem to have started the game a few seconds into the game. I guess he cut out the boring stuff in the beginning, like loading. Getting pretty beat up. He seems to have split this squad up in 2 and gone either direction, but he's been wiped out in both cases, except for getting into this house. This map is Winter Church, I think it's called. This is a fun map. It's the setup of this square in the middle is kind of weird, but the 2 sides are really fun to fight, and the middle is not bad to fight in either. I'm a big fan. You see this machine gun that the opponent got set up early on, did some real damage. Oh look, he's taking this. So he split in 3 directions. That might explain why he got creamed in 2 of them. But it paid off, because he's the only one with a point captured so far. Not sure why the opponent doesn't have the right. Maybe he's being a little cautious. But that machine gun is going to be a tough thing to take on, especially because there seem to be people in the adjacent windows too. And you see Felis with Vyacheslav Spiridonov can do nothing except pretty much hide, because he's got great view of this point. Even though it's such a built-up point in the middle and all these buildings and stuff, he's still got to be cautious. So this is a tough area to assault with infantry if they're built in, but the flag itself is not too bad, because it's sort of an enclosed area, so if you can get to the area, then you can start just throwing grenades over and stuff, and you have quite a bit of cover there, so at least until stuff starts blowing up. And I'm not reading the Steam stuff in the bottom right because I'm too focused, but if you wish to read that, you can go ahead. And we see how brutal the fighting gets in the middle, because it does force all the engagements to be at very close range, because there's obviously not a lot of stuff you can do. If you get up in the 2nd floor of a building or something, you can sort of fire down, but generally if you want to capture the point, all the engagements are going to be very, very close range. So it looks like we're going to be fighting over the middle point for most of the time, because neither player seems to have probed to the left or to the right. They are happy to leave that for each other. So the Russians are not too bad at fighting it out at this distance with their general infantry. The PPSH submachine gun just puts out so many bullets that it's really good, but obviously you're always at a disadvantage if you're sort of sitting in here and firing at people who have better cover and who have a better position than you. So it's looking fairly difficult. What was that? Was that an AT grenade? I think so. So you can see how you can open up this area a bit if you start using some explosives. You can take out these walls, you can take out parts of the building, and pretty soon there's going to be nothing to hide behind. But that will take a while, especially on a 1v1 where the number of explosions are usually a bit limited. Although if you think about it, each of your submachine gunners, assault infantry dudes, carries AT grenade, and if you're Russian, you also get Molotovs with a lot of your people, and the squad leader always comes with an AT grenade no matter what squad it is and stuff like that. So really you have a fair amount of explosives that can take down walls available to you from the outset. We see a vehicle coming, and Felis was waiting to buy his vehicle until he saw his opponent pop out with one. We saw him sort of contemplating light vehicles before that, but he only committed to the T-34 when he saw this thing come out. And a T-34, of course, a great choice against this little armored car, because that armored car cannot injure the T-34. Perhaps it could take out a tread, especially if it was close up, or maybe if it drove like literally right next to the T-34 behind it and opened up on the engine block, it could do damage, but I'm pretty sure that cannon can't do much else. So one of the things that when you buy a cheap T-34 is this a cheap T-34? This is a T-34-76. I think that's a nice T-34. I don't know, I always forget. Oh, but there's a building in the way. You see that red dot? Well, let's see if the red dot changes color. Well, it briefly changes color. Whenever that dot is red, it means your view is or your shot is obstructed by something. And of course, that might just be a rabbit, but not actually a rabbit. There are no rabbits in this game, but it might be something small, it might be something big. You never know. So now he's revealed his T-34. He fired. Yeah, check that grenade. Run. A good trick to learn is cooking grenades in direct control. One of the developers, Digital Mindsoft developers, can't remember his name. Oh, probably Instinct. I don't know. He seems to be the only guy who works there. Made some videos of him playing Men of War and just uploaded that a multiplayer match. And he's really good at direct controlling infantry and cooking grenades and stuff. And there's a cost benefit to all this stuff, because when you're focusing your time on direct controlling a unit and cooking grenades and stuff like that, you're obviously not controlling your other people and doing other things. But if it's a focused 1v1 in like a victory flag or something, then you can really just get in on the point and use your infantry to their utmost. In bigger games like a 4v4 or something, it can also work, because then you can sort of let your allies handle the big stuff, and you can just be like, I'm going to do a lot of damage to this one point. But that's generally not the kind of play that I engage in. I typically try and hit as many fronts as possible, as quickly as possible, try and attack in lots of areas, and try and defend lots of areas, and try and hit the opponent where they're weakest and stuff, rather than trying to get as much damage and as much use out of each individual man. But those are different ways to play Men of War, and there's even more ways to play Men of War, so it's wonderful that you really have your choice. And how did this start about direct control? I don't know, maybe I was just talking about it but yeah, it's good to watch people who play in lots of different ways, which is why it's unfortunate that Men of War has no replay feature, and I can only cast my own games, or when other people send in games. Oh, hey, I should mention this. Send in your games to me if you record them, and I'll do exactly what I'm doing to AbsentIntelligence, FelisTheIdiot's game. I can totally... He's sort of loaded up on a fair amount of AT here. You have an AT rifle, the T-34, two AT rifle, well, one AT rifle squad, which comes with two AT rifle infantry, I think, a light AT gun, and a T-34, just because this armored car is much faster than this tank. Oh man, took out the house, holy crap. If I had a rifle in real life that could take out a house, I would not spend my time on the internet. But yeah, this armored car a lot faster than anything that he's got to counter it, so instead he's buying a fair amount of cheap AT and stationing it all over, because any of it can kill the armored car, and then he's hoping just to catch it when it shows up. Guards rifle! Alright, these are some of the cheapest hero units you can buy for the Soviets, with tanks driving through stuff. And they're good at shooting stuff. Not a lot interesting about that. They come with... For Guards rifle, they certainly come with quite a few submachine guns, but let's not bother about that. Wow. He just ran over like a gas tank or something, or some sort of building, and it collapsed and killed people, so be careful. That's the lesson there. But yeah, I was complaining earlier that Men of War does not have a replay feature, which means we only get to watch my games or games that people send in. So if you have the ability to record your game, perhaps through Fraps or Virtual Dub, or one of the many game recording programs there are. There's a bunch of weird, obscure ones, but if you have the ability to record your game and it's not a piece of shit, don't send me any goddamn thing you record, because sometimes games you record are a piece of shit. And you want to send it to me, which is slightly difficult. You gotta find a website that will host some massive file. And you want to send it to me, there's a pretty good chance I'll put it on the internet when I get around to it, but my upload speeds are shit, so it's kind of... It's fine making them. Like right now I'm sitting here talking into my microphone, but when it comes time to put them on YouTube, oh boy, that's not fun. So anyways, it's good to watch different people who play differently play games, because Men of War is really so good about not forcing you to do anything. I mean, it says, look, capture these points, and then it's like, how do you capture the points? You got a lot of options. This guy he's fighting is buying Volkssturm at some point, whereas FelisTheIdiot has bought Guards Rifle. Those are two of the most different infantry you can get, right? Guards Rifle is expensive hero units, Volkssturm are cheap and crappy. And the spread between those, it can get even bigger. You can go from Volkssturm to like the Marines and stuff. So, and that's just it, infantry. There's all these different vehicles and stuff. So really, I'm saying you can play however you want as long as it's good. And FelisTheIdiot has sort of decided to do the thing where he's attacking on all the points. He attacked the right. The opponent really has not counterattacked there. Although if you look at the minimap, he's poking a bit. He did attack the left, but FelisTheIdiot immediately counterattacked, and meanwhile he's taken the middle. And it really seems like the opponent not being aggressive enough, I would say. He really conceded the middle completely, and all the damage he's done with all these point, things overlooking the middle really don't add up to much unless he can actually take the point, because Felis has taken a lot of losses here. He's lost a lot of men, a lot of blood, but he has the point, right? And that's what's important, because that's what's going to win you the game. So if the opponent can make it work over time, which it looks like he's trying to do, see, now he's taking the point, he's just being more cautious, then it'll work. But you have to balance between being too cautious and not being cautious enough. I don't know. Well, we can, as the game goes on, we can decide whether Felis is too aggressive, not aggressive enough, his opponent is too aggressive, not aggressive enough. But right now they both seem to be doing a fairly good job. Felis not able to hold on to the middle for quite a while, but in general, since the opponent really hasn't probed on the right, folded almost immediately after taking the left, I only have to give him partial points for taking the middle, because still he's down. And so we see Felis being very cautious. There's a tank somewhere out and about. I didn't get a very good look at it, but I think it's a Panzer IV or something like that. And we must be very, very careful so that the tank does not kill us. And all props to Felis moving in on the middle while he's on the left and the right too. And oh shit! Oh shit! Yep, see, look at that fast little bugger. Can't catch him at all with that PKP machine gun because it wasn't set up. But if it was set up, probably could have taken out the armored car, because it just takes a shot or two and it gets punched right through. Is this thing on a hill? Often when I'm playing, you'll see me sort of zoom the camera down to ground level to see what the site looks like, but Felis not doing that. He's just kind of eyeballing it. Oh god, here it comes, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it, boom! Ha, suck on that. Did not kill the thing, but it did injure the crew, so some guy's dead. But here's how we know Felis is pretty neat. While his AT gun was shooting that thing, he went over and moved his men in on the middle, so it's easy to get bogged down and be like, I'm going to kill this armored car, but no, Felis is thinking about all the fronts all the time. He's also moving his T-34 on the right, and it's this sort of constant pressure on all the different front lines that can really, really pay off in the future. But there are also drawbacks. He loses his armored car. If he'd been watching the minimap, he would have seen that person sneaking up. But obviously it wasn't his armored car in the first place, so it's not a huge loss. He kind of just took out the enemy armored car for the price of the two guys he's stuck in there. Or maybe the one guy he's stuck in there. So that T-34 was facing the wrong way, but that's okay because he's far behind at-light lines. I was talking long ago about the cheap T-34s versus the expensive T-34s. I could have sworn the T-34-76 was one of the expensive ones, but I guess the T-34-85 is the expensive one. But the cheaper T-34s do not come with a machine gun on the very top. Oh, that sucks. Panzer IV. Yeah, if you buy an expensive T-34, like a T-34-85, or maybe a T-34-57, I'm not sure, they'll have a machine gun on the top that you can, just the T-34-85, I think. They have a machine gun on the top that you can man, although you're going to want to buy extra crewmen, or use one of your infantry, because it's not manned by default. And if the tank is stationary, then sometimes the gunner will swap to that thing on the top, which is actually kind of bad, because then he'll get shot because he's exposed, and then you don't have a gunner, and blah 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 blah. But, sometimes he won't swap to it, and in general it's nice, because then you get three machine guns, right? You get the hull-mounted machine gun, you get the turret-mounted machine gun, like the thing on the that's normally firing, and then you get the top pintle-mounted machine gun. So that's pretty cool. But I think somebody on one of my older YouTube videos posted that this was not historically accurate, that they did not actually put machine guns on the top of the T-34. And Felis kind of getting owned. Owned, not the right word, of course. He's got all 3 points right now. Oh, all 2, and he's got 62 points to his opponent's 14. But he's taking losses, so we're going to have to see him fight on 2 fronts at once. And interestingly enough, not on 3 fronts at once, unless this guy sprinting to the middle is actually sprinting to the middle, because opponents attacking the left and the right, fairly good job, I'd say. Opponent attacking the middle, not so fantastic job. He's too content with his difficult to assail position that he's taken in these buildings, and he's not putting as much pressure on the middle as he could be. But obviously, like I've been talking about, it can be kind of difficult to assault the middle if they've got these people built up, which Felis has learned all too well. Who are these shiny people that he bought on the left coming to half-track? I don't know. I wasn't watching. What was I How can I not know what Felis bought? What was I watching that wasn't the... whatever. I don't know. But wow, those sandbags go down to the heavy machine gun fire from this half-track. That's interesting. I rarely ever buy half-tracks. The last time I bought a half-track was when the game was lost. Lollibo had, his game had crashed, and I just bought a half-track full of like commandos or something, and it blew up. But, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of half-tracks just because they're fairly squishy. They seem to be a great place to park your infantry if you want them all to die at once. And you can get the same sort of thing with an armored car. But, you know, I guess if they come with your people, then that's the way to do it. You can buy, like, people with hero units, and they come with a half-track, something like that. Guards rifle. Maybe the guards rifle come with a half-track. I don't think so. But yeah, half-tracks have some good guns on top. I don't like how exposed they are, but that's life. Very good break for him that his tank is repairable here. It's going to take a while, but you see him buy some tank crewmen just to be ready for when that happens. And admirable job holding on to the left. Not completely holding on, but keeping the opponent from taking it, and keeping the opponent from taking the right, in fact, just with some people parked behind the sandbags. Opponent really not being aggressive enough, I think, on the right, because Felis has been able to hold him off long enough. He's capped the middle, he still has the middle. He's capped the left back, he's at 74 points, and unless the opponent starts doing something soon, he's really going to start feeling the pressure of Felis's many points advantage, because once you get the critical number of points, let's say 80 or 85 or something, then you can start being like, you know what, I'm gonna really take these points. I'm not gonna care about my losses as much, I'm not gonna care about my points as much, I'm not gonna care about killing people as much. What I'm really gonna do is seize these points and just hold them for as long as possible, and then I can get out a win even if my opponent can buy like 6 Panthers, because I am, oh sucker, you lose your track, you're in trouble, especially with your side showing. Once you start doing that, boom, yeah, nice job. IS-1, don't want to fuck with that guy. 85mm gun. So yeah, tank combat in this map is kind of interesting, because this corridor that he just fired down is one of the only corridors you get to fire down when you're fighting enemy tanks. There have been 2 tanks killed down this corridor, 1 on each side, and mostly though there's buildings and hills blocking everything. So be very prescient of those corridors and never cross it unless you're feeling like you can make that crossing safely. Don't think the opponent knew the IS-1 was there, so in that case he got destroyed and there wasn't a lot he could do, because the first shot took out some of his crew and the second shot took out his tread. But always keep those sight lines in mind, and be careful, because in addition to parking tanks there, opponents will park AT guns there, and so don't, you know, it might not be safe to drive across if you haven't driven across in a while, because there might be an AT gun waiting on the other side of that corridor, because you can predict where your opponent's going to put things by looking where you would put things. What's a good position? If you watch any of my Frozen Synapse videos, you know, that game is all about predicting what your opponent's going to do, because they have time to plan out the turn and stuff, but you can do the same thing in Men of War, especially when you know your opponent has had time to dig in. You see some sandbags, like this guy sees these sandbags show up in the middle of the street, like, there's fucking people behind those sandbags. Like, it doesn't take a rocket brain scientist, surgeon, chemist to figure out that if there's sandbags in the middle of the street, your opponent has either put sandbags there and put some people behind the sandbags, or they're trying to fake you out, or they have Down syndrome. You know, in any case, you just gotta be cognizant of this stuff and try and play the head games, and you can predict what things are going to happen, and then you're going to be in a much better position than somebody who cannot predict what things are going to happen. If you're psychic, that's also good too, but I don't think psychic people exist, so that's unfortunate. And here we see the points thing coming into play. Felis has 88, the opponent has 14, and I feel like the opponent not being quite aggressive enough, kind of holding back. Felis bought this big frickin' tank. This is not the big frickin' tank, by the way. This is the T-34, but he bought the IS-1 and he moved in. Opponent did buy a Nebelwerfer. That's one of the hero units. Boom! Panzerfaust. That's the sort of stuff I like to see, right? Some guy hiding in a bush, out with a Panzerfaust, tank dead. So that's, you know, very difficult. Very difficult for tanks driving around in buildings. Could have advanced with infantry support, but I think this was Felis sort of going for some quick aggression. He was going to cut around behind this point, wipe out any enemy infantry that were coming to try and hold him off, and it was just going to be a big fell swoop, and he was going to take them all out. And you know, it didn't work out for him, but if that had worked, it would have been great. And even though it didn't, it was still a good idea, because, see, he's trying to buy himself time. Look, he's got 93 points, he's got the middle, he's got the left, he's trying to take the right. He was trying to, you know, buy himself as much time as possible to take the rightmost point, really get those points taken up. He's at 94, he's got all 3 points, 95, he's got all 3 points. At this point, he wins, okay? Opponent has to mount basically an offensive on 2 points simultaneously and take them both very quickly. don't think he's going to do it. Felis wins because his aggression and his multiple front fighting was really just more than the opponent could handle. And here we see like a Panther, too little, too late. Really big tanks, can't do anything. He's got like tank and a Neebover for maybe a couple tanks. Look, a lot of points worth of stuff, ain't going to work, wasn't aggressive enough. Hooray for Felis.